Americans behave as though they don't know that a unanimous vote or a consensus doesn't equal correct. In this video, I will definitively show that American governance, Americanism, this form of democracy, and all forms of democracy, mind you, are wrong. The only chance America has for a moral society is to dissolve the government and to have a monarchy, and they must do it before it is too late. I will prove definitively that after I die, it is too late. And first consider who I am before you discard that idea. I am not you. I am not the average person. I am not a politician in the government. I am not some rich ninny with ill-gotten gains. I am the only viable leader in truth that can bring in a moral society, period. Anyone else, by default, would be an ill-gotten gain. No one has my family background. No one has my history of dedication to truth. I'm the only one. See, my key reasons why I'm the top martial artist playlist, you'd have to be an idiot to not agree. You'd have to be so far gone, there's no words for it. Let us consider what's wrong with the government now. A lot of cowards, perhaps by now, will have already tuned out. That is how foolish people are. They can't hear the seriousness in my voice. They can't see past the substances in the food and the air and the things that make it hard for me to convey my sincerity. It shouldn't be very hard in this video. I can hear myself talk, and I know that this is an authoritative utterance in the specific tone with the heart that is the root of this tone and God that is the spiritual root of this tone that has made it so. When you don't listen to someone speaking like this, you should lose your right to vote, period. Corporate control is what's wrong with the government. The political parties we have is what's wrong with the government. The checks and balances are part of what's wrong with the government. Who has who in check? Everyone knows that these parties represent constituents who are often racist and selfish, if not always. And corporations. How can you represent a bunch of selfish groups that don't operate based on morality, but what's best for them, and end up doing the right thing? So first and foremost, it's in corporate check. And then there's a bunch of racist and selfish, immature groups that refuse to propound truths and pure morality, keeping the government, quote unquote, in check. By default, it is wrong. One man of pure moral value, of a high moral worth, is greater than all the rest of the country. Certainly operating through this system. Where does this system come to us from? Well, it comes from the Age of Enlightenment, which contributed to the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, and ultimately the three branches of government. Not to mention the early parties, the Democratic Republicans, the Whigs, etc. This is where we get this form of government, from slave owning, native slaughtering, wealthy landowners who were early corporatists when one considers their wealth, their land, and their strong network. They're an early example of corporate partners in that sense. Corporations, so to speak, gave us the government and have been manipulating us through it ever since in one form or another, all the way on to this modern technological terror that we have today, which is the corporate networks of corporate partners. Utter garbage. So let's look at the parties, shall we? We have the liberals. What is a liberal? It's open to new behavior or opinions and willing to discard traditional values. Well, that's the problem now, isn't it? All the moral truths that exist already existed before the word liberal ever came around. There's nothing new under the sun. So why would you need to be open to something new? And what is a conservative? They're trying to conserve the continuity of colonial oppression. And what's worse, many of them claim to be religious people. What kind of a God would side with such trash? Ask yourself that. They need to be silent in all spiritual matters, period. This is no small problem. These are secular humanists. Not to mention eugenicists that control the population to a large degree. And you would see that if you aren't living under a rock or something. They want to bring peace, just like the Enlightenment guys who came from the 30 Years' War and other religious wars and religious strife. They said, let us tone down the religious rhetoric, including the moral truths of the Bible. And some of them wanted to get rid of morality altogether. They were deists. They were pantheists. Some of them. They were rationalists, pragmatists, pragmatic. They were realists. Okay. They were scientists. Okay. They were functionalists. How does the system function? And as a result, this is where we get modern liberalism, the root of it, especially in America. They refuse to accept the faulty Western American foundation. The foundation of the Democratic Party, the Republicans, the Libertarians, the Green Party, so on and so forth, is faulty. It is immoral. It is corporate trash. I don't care if they fought in the Revolutionary War or not. Fighting in a war doesn't automatically mean that you have high moral worth. If you are so attached to your country that you won't even consider that the foundation of it is faulty, you are sick. You are sick. You are sick. So let's look at what we see in their behavior. The right, the left, American behavior, we see cowards who have accepted evil, that are comfortable with their cowardice. That's why they are polite when they are. That is why they don't insist on truth. Insisting on half-truth is a form of cowardice. Should I even bother to explain why that is? Certainly people can't hear it enough, because part of their problem is their repetition of cowardly behavior. The conservative arguments reflect their white supremacist mind state, whether they admit it or not, whether they're white or not. They say things like, we built this. Okay? Says the psychopath who built the re-education camp to his victim. They have eugenic logic. We hear the Trump and others talk about their good genes. The right, the alt-right talk about population control, build a wall. How many immigrants vote liberal versus conservative? Control the demographics. They have sexual reasons. Stay away from the white girls times 10. They have comfort-based reasons. They may as well be sitting in a massage parlor all day, counting their blood money, having some disenfranchised person sucking their dick. That is the kind of cowards that they are. When you have comfort-based reasons, you are a coward. Make no mistake. Life is a struggle. To insist that you have some kind of privilege and comfort makes you immoral. It makes you evil. Of course, they refuse to accept that America has a faulty foundation, quite often citing the founding fathers and the Constitution, which has some rather immoral phrases in there. Not to mention, they want the Supreme Court, the puppets of corporate puppets, to interpret the Constitution. There shouldn't be a single logical mind in this country or on this planet, for that matter, that doesn't see that America needs to dissolve its government and create a monarchy. Now listen carefully. Again, I remind you that it is self-evident that a unanimous vote or a consensus isn't the same thing as a correct decision. When one realizes that the only way to be truly equal is to look at mankind as one human race, one must consider true martial arts and moral gains versus ill-gotten gains. One is delusional if they don't see that man must have a moral, social, and political monarchy with me as Pharaoh. Of course, ill-gotten gains from colonialism, generational wealth, and all types of sabotage must be highlighted. It must be highlighted. It's not right not to. Because of the abuse of all other religions and spiritual systems and martial arts systems, none of these things can be used as an infallible, correct scale. One must look at what the transcendent hero has to say and scrutinize it with truth from there, with heart, looking at things in terms of one human race. We're all the same race. What did your family do? What did his family do? Where did your wealth come from? Is it right that you leverage blood money to have your way? Is it right that you form groups of people that leverage blood money, which is what we always see in every nation in history? It's what we always see. It's what people do. They leverage their trade route garbage against righteous men and everyone else. That is not right. The only way to check that is to have a martial arts system led by the top martial artists with no ill-gotten gains. My sparring argument proves that definitively. Focused, when to act, when not to act. The moral determination, the moral will, the righteous indignation, and the focused intensity as a result of righteous indignation that goes into sparring. This guy has earned it with his higher moral path and his superior body that allows for that mind to have a higher moral path. He's proved it. There is nobody like me in history, ever. Nobody. Not Martin Luther King. Not Narmer himself. Not enough evidence is available. Nobody. And the next best thing is a martial artist, is Narmer himself. And then, of course, in today's society, it is my father, the sabotaged hero brain surgeon that gave away millions to help the disenfranchised of this nation, that then proved that he was right that much more by crippling him and his son, murdering his family members, and sabotaging them. This is open and shut. There is nobody anywhere near as morally sound as I am. And the closest thing is my father, who is too old to lead you into the future, but not too old to govern companies and things of this nature. A majority vote by those who only speak for what benefits them is garbage and true oppression. Even if they were scared, in fact, especially if they were scared, it is garbage and they are garbage. I'll give you $5,000 if you can prove me wrong. to my satisfaction. Thank you.